Welcome to another iDoctor UK video, and today we're in the reception area, but I want to show you inside the refurb area and give you a little guided tour of what's going on inside here. You'll probably be familiar with this desk over here because this is where I film most of the video stuff that we do, but this is generally where I'll start off any refurb work with the big forward 12-inch LCD separating machine. It will go up to, I think, 200 degrees, but that's way too hot for what we need. But the temperature controller on there is fairly good, and it's always a pretty good idea to use a thermometer just to verify that the temperature is what it says it is. Because I have seen other people complaining when they're using a heat mat like this one that they'll set it to 80 degrees, but it's actually 90, and then you'll end up breaking backlights on devices. So a handy tool to have is a digital thermometer, just so you can verify what it's saying it is. This is saying it's 49.5 degrees now, and then on the gun we're at 42, so there is a little bit of variation. Once it reaches temperature, it's a better idea to check it though, because it's not always accurate as it's going through there. We use various small hand tools when we're doing these jobs. Screwdrivers. A really handy tool to have is one of these number 17 X-Acto blades. They're super handy for cleaning stuff, separating stuff, for breaking frames on iPhone 8s and iPhone 7s and those kind of devices. I find that it's actually more useful to have one of these blades than having one of those, you know, the hot soldering iron with the blade on it. These are way better and less risk of burning screens. Up on, I have got a Amscope microscope here. In all honesty, I rarely use it. I just thought it'd be a good idea to have a little soldering setup here. I never use it, I just move it onto the main desk, which I think you've seen before. This is just a cheap clean room unit. I'll turn it on very briefly so you can see the lights, but you'll notice that the fans are quite loud on there, so it's hard to hear yourself think if you're ever using this thing. Definitely hard to hear anybody speaking. And we've got the IC green light also in here. I have got two of them, so we can shine a light either way on the screen, and it just reduces the chance of any dust being picked up on there. Fans from the top, HEPA filter on the top there, and I think they're about 100 quid these, or a couple of £100 or so, and it does exactly what it says on the tin. There are better models available on the market, but for a cheap setup, this is a decent clean room unit. Turn that off. Moving on to this one. This is a more specialist screen separator. I tend to use this one for doing iPhones, but the thing that I do like about this one is that you can tilt it from side to side. So if you're doing curved screens, you can still maintain that level, a certain level with the separating wire, so then you can get started on a curved screen. It's the same principle as the other heat plate. This one, I usually have it set much higher because we do lots of OLED screens on these. It spins 360 degrees, and it's got the vacuum pump on there as well. I'm pretty sure it's an Okamaster branded device. I definitely got it from Okamaster, but I couldn't tell you what model it is. But like I said, it tilts, it swivels. It's also got a built-in vacuum pump so that you don't have to have an external vacuum pump, although I have in the past used them with external pumps and I found that they are a little bit better suction on them. But this does the job pretty nicely for what we need it for. It'll do an iPhone screen, it'll do an Apple Watch screen. Obviously anything bigger goes onto the forward unit over there. I like to have lots of space, and you've caught me at a good time because it's reasonably tidy. I know lots of people would probably disagree with me, but for us, or for me definitely, I say us collectively, but I mean me, this is about as tidy as it gets. But it is nice to have lots of room, and we're blessed in this workshop that we've got plenty of space so that we can do things like this and have nice workshop areas. In terms of this racking, this is a work in progress really, but we've got the cutting wire. It's important to have a good range of different size cutting wires. So we've got 0.35, 0.1s, I think there's 0.5s, 0.28s is a handy one to have in your arsenal. Other things that I'll keep in these storage areas: sheets of ochre, little repair kit for the laminating machine, and just various consumables. But one thing that I want to show you, and what is important if you're thinking about setting up a refurbishing business or a refurbishing workshop area, you need lots of these Dorco blades. They're really handy for separating glass and getting started when you're breaking into a screen, so that you can get your wire started. I use the iTestbox S300 screen tester. Let's see if we can find a screen what we can test. It has all different iPhone connectors on here. We've got an 8 Plus screen that we'll just test out real quick, and I'll show you how it works. All you have to do is turn it on, connect your screen, and then you can scroll through just to test your screens, what you're using. And it means that you don't have to have a pile of different model iPhones around. It's always handy to have. That one actually says no touch on it, but then the touch is working, which would be my only criticism about this machine. It can be unreliable with the touch. 1 minute touch will work fine, the other minute there's no touch. So that's where you can't beat actually having a test phone or a device that you can test from. So that's the test box. Obviously that one won't do iPads, so we've got a stack of different model iPads here, all the 12.9 versions. I don't know what that's doing there, that's an iPad 5th. Air 2, there's a few more kicking around, and this is also where I keep the glass for our iPad screen. So we've got the Pro 11 top glass with ochre attached. What I will say about if you're getting into this, you want to be buying glass with the ochre pre-applied, because it's going to save you time. The quality of it is absolutely fine, and it really does save you time and the risk of getting bubbles in it. I've been doing this refurbing for probably 3 or 4 months now, and by no means am I an expert. I've done a few good jobs. I'd say I'm pretty good at doing iPads and Apple Watches. iPhones I still struggle with, and I still fuck them up regularly. But I've tried putting ochre on myself, sheets of ochre, and honestly, just pay the extra 50p to have ochre pre-applied. Liquids that you'll use: lots of isopropyl alcohol, acetone, really useful. You can pick that up. I mean, I use this company a lot, this Chem Distro, for alcohol, but I ran out the other day, and there's like a beauty shop around the corner, so this is just from the beauty shop. Acetone. I'm not going to talk about this stuff, but sometimes this stuff will give you cancer, right? It's bad. What, at 8222, 8333, whatever you want to call it, that's what this liquid is based on. This is a mechanic version of it. But yeah, 8333. Honestly, it's not worth it to use, really. If you are going to use it, if you've got a case where you really need to get some ochre off fast, then it might be useful for you. But instead of that, I strongly recommend using D-Lim. D-Lim is a industrial degreasing liquid. I haven't got any in any smaller vials at the moment. Oh, actually I have. That's a long one. It's almost run out of this one, that's why I wasn't going to show you, but I keep it in this one. Pour it from there into there, and then into the smaller bottles as well. That'll do just as good a job as this stuff, but it's nowhere near as toxic or bad for you. I mean, I don't know much what's not going to give you cancer these days, but that'll give it you much slower than the 8333. Moving on, we've got the OchreMaster OMK20 or OchreMaster K20. This is a really good laminating machine, and it's a bagged laminator. The hinge doesn't work because I didn't have a shelf bracket short enough for that one, so that it catches on that bracket there. But we'll just ignore that fact for now. Inside it, we've got the magic mat. But what there is inside here is it's a bag. So what happens when you turn it on? You put your screen face up there. When you turn it on, there's a vacuum pump at the back, and it sucks that bag out. It creates a vacuum inside here, sucks the bag out, and it applies pressure onto the top of a screen like that. And it's also heated, so we've got 47 degrees, 42 degrees for lamination, and that heat will sort of soften the ochre so that you can stick the screen on, if that makes sense. I don't even know if I'm talking sense, but let's carry on. Underneath it, this is the autoclave. It's an M triangle. This is a 12-inch sized one, so you could put a fair few iPhone screens onto there. But the good thing about this is that it will fit if you wanted to. I know this is cracked, but just as an example, you can put up to the 12.9-inch iPad models in there, and it closes up nicely and it fits them in. It's nice and compact. I used to have one of those big chamber type ones, but this one is so easy to use. It's got a little compressor. The compressor is noisy as hell, but that one works off a compressor, and this one works off a vacuum pump. The vacuum pump is back here. I think it's a 2.5 litre one. Yeah, a 2 litre vacuum pump. That came from Ochre. It plugs into the back of the K20 laminator, so that when you press the button, it starts the vacuum machine there at the back. And I don't know if you see, when you press the button, that squishes down. That's because that vacuum's being created there, and all the air's sucked out of that whilst you're doing it. And that is, in short, how the vacuum machine works. I'd like to be able to show you the bag in action, but it needs a vacuum to work to do it like that. You can't see it. There's a valve at the back what's sucking air out of it, and that's, in short, how it works. Is there anything else? Yes, let's talk about molds. So getting started with refurbishing, it can be really, really expensive to get started. You're gonna have to buy lots of these molds and accessories to go along with it. So these are for clamping a 12 and 12 Pro frame onto the back of an LCD, and they're magnetic, but they start adding up when you've got iPhone X, XS, XS Max, 11 Pro, Pro Max, and they're about 15 quid a piece, I think. So, but when you've got 10 models, you've got 150 quid's worth of them. And then you've got these Sani King molds, I think, Sanhee King, Same King. I think they're called Same King. Everybody in England calls them Same King. And these are molds. You put your OLED panel in there, and then you lay your glass on top, squish it down like that, and that will align the OLED and the glass together really nicely. What else have we got on here? If you're doing 7 screens, 8 screens, 6S, this tends to be where a lot of people start with refurbishing. Although what I did find, and I regret, I know it's more expensive when you make a mistake working on the OLED screens, but I find that it's a cheaper option to start learning with the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 8 models. So you're going to want one of these, and this helps take off the polarizer. So you remove the glass, place the screen facing up on there, and then you can use those Dorco blades that we were talking about earlier to easily remove the polarizer off there. And that's the same. You need a full set of different models. The 7 and the 8 are the same. 7 Plus, 8 Plus are the same, but then you need 6S, 6S Plus, 6 Plus, blah blah blah, on and on and on. And the same when it goes for iPad models. You're going to need molds for those. A few of those will do a couple of different models, but you're going to need a decent stack of them to get you started. iPads, I would 100% recommend getting started with, because they are. It seems a bit more daunting to refurb iPad screens rather than the little iPhone screens. Once you get used to doing the iPad screens, you can make a lot more money. Same with Apple Watches as well. I would highly recommend getting into those. Where I was talking about removing the polarizer earlier using this jig, you're going to get the Dorco blade and you're going to run that along the edge to remove the polarizer like that. You'll also need lots of these little bottles, like this one's got alcohol in it. We also have one what usually has DLIM in it, and it just means that you can drip it with a bit more accuracy than just dolloping a bottle on and ruining things. So that just about concludes this video. I think I've covered everything that I need to cover. The only thing that I can think is that we've not talked about the glass that I use. We'll talk about that in another video, just because I told you earlier, all this storage area and this behind me, I plan to put all the glass in their own little housings like we've got on the back wall there. But I've never got around to it, and it's just dumped in a box. So I'm too ashamed to show you that. So if you've got any comments or you've got any questions, leave them in the area below and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. For all the equipment that I use, I will put links to it in the description below, so make sure you go and check that out. I don't think there'll even be affiliate links because whatever. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.